And it's time. Welcome everyone to CyberCast IRL. I've still got my earbud in. I don't need that anymore. So, I was on Jerry's show this morning, and you don't like the echoes. No one likes a good echo coming through, so you put the headphone in to keep that from happening. But it is Friday. It is August the 15th, and it is 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And I thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. Hopefully everything's coming through live at 5, or 5 by 5, as they say in the military. And yeah, we're going to talk some cybersecurity stuff today. We're going to have a great time. And I already see a bunch of great folks in the chat. So many cool people here. I see Phil Stafford in the house. Wes Bryan in the chat. So give him a shout. What's up, Wesley? McWillis. We've got White Hat Sheepdog just dropped in. Luke Canfield. Oh, man, we got Ben. Good morning, Ben. Good to have you. Wayne's Real World, as always. Joe Foster. CJ was first in the chat today. Congratulations for being number one. And yeah, I'm so excited to have everyone here. Who else? Alan Reeder. We've got, I think that is some of all the ones I've seen so far, but people are pulling up to the station to have some good cyber talk. And yeah, the good news is today I'm quite thirsty. I'm very, very thirsty. So I feel like I'm going to get to this morning pour here sooner rather than later. But of course, we've got all the housekeeping to do before we get to that. Alicia Parkinson, good morning. Nerdpocalypse, Code Brew, always a pleasure. But yeah, for those of you that are kind of new to the channel, maybe not have been, around the horn with us as many times as everybody else, but that's all right. We just want to get everybody up to speed on how this kind of thing works. Here at CyberCast IRL, we talk cybersecurity stuff, whether that be about, latest threats that are out there, cool tools or techniques that we've seen, and just industry news, certifications, whether we love them, hate them, somewhere in the middle. What are good ones? What are bad ones? What are, and it's all opinion based, obviously. This is all subjective material. But I think that what we try to do at CyberCast is we facilitate that conversation, right? We're trying to get conversations going about that stuff so that we can all learn from each other, grow, and get the information we need to be successful in this thing that we love so much. So that's what it's all about. That said, if you have something specific you would like to ask me or bring to my attention, here's what we got going on here. Let me grab the old chat, put it in the screen so everybody can see it. This is what we got. Yeah, you got the chat going on. And if you need to grab a hold of me like Phil says, go, you can see my name really easily there because he added me. So if you're in the YouTube chat, just at my name, and that makes it very much easier for me to actually see it. And that way I can interact with you good folks and get to those questions. Now, that said, I am but a man with faults and foibles, and I am not perfect, okay? I'm not perfect. So I'll probably miss something from time to time. And if I do, I apologize. I don't do that intentionally. But because of that, because I do fail from time to time, we got Wayne's Real World in the chat. He is batting cleanup for me, as always, our official, unofficial moderator, where he will try to spam at me to let me know, hey, you're missing something there, Daniel. Why don't you grab this? So-and-so's asking about such and such. So that's how that works. That said, I feel like it is time for the morning pour. This is one of the more fun things we do here at CyberCast IRL. I've got the Lord's Camo Cup. I don't even know who makes this. Who makes this? Corkle. Yep, this is Corkle. Corksicle? Corksicle. There we go. Corksicle makes this. I love this cup. It has done me well. It keeps my drinks cold and refreshing. I've got the ice in there, and I can already tell. You notice I shake the glass and nothing happens? That's how cold it stays in there, that the ice just becomes one big block. And then we grab the Monster of the day because I am a Monster energy drinker. I love Monster. I try not to overindulge with the Monster because I understand that too much of a good thing is not a good thing. But man, do I look forward to it here in CyberCast IRL, and of course, CyberCast After Dark as well, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. Shameless plug, right? So what's today's going to be? I know you guys like to guess at that. You like to go, ooh, what's he going to pour? I got LeGrat going, pour. LeGrat in the house, good to see you. White Hat Sheepdog says, there is an echo. Interesting. Well, that's a weird thing. Does everybody hear an echo, or is it just White Hat Sheepdog? If you're getting an echo, let me know, because I don't know why that would be. All right, so we'll do the pour, and then we'll get to that. So today's monster is going to be Ultra Paradise. It's been a while since I had one of these. I saw it on the shelf. I was like, ooh, yeah, that's what's up right there. And we're going to get that ASMR thing going with that pour. We got to get the crack, though. I almost always forget the crack. So there was an echo when I shared my screen. Interesting. Well, we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. Hopefully nothing has happened, and we'll see what goes on. All right, so let's get to this. You ready? Oh, yeah. And I did not splash my keyboard this time. I did that in After Dark the other time. All right. Well, when we get to the share screen, we'll see what's going on with that. Maybe there's like a weird thing going on with my settings, and we'll fix it. All right. Let's get the microphone placed just so. Time for the pour. Oh, I almost lost it there. Whoa. Oh, no. Ooh, that was a little scary. I actually didn't get it all in there. I mean, there was only a little bit left. But I was a little overzealous on that pour there, wasn't I? I still have to get a tug here because oh man, that's what's up. That's what's up. This was a good choice, kids. This was definitely a good choice for today. Ultra Paradise, man. It's like a laser beam in your mouth of refreshing tastiness. Oh, wow. Well, that was fun. If you enjoy the morning pour, you know what you can do. You go down in the description below. There is a link to Buy Me a Monster. And that way we can make sure that there is a morning pour from here on out every time we do IRL. I appreciate everyone that has donated to the poor cause. Without you, I guess I would just have to buy it myself. But it's a lot of fun, and I really appreciate everybody that has donated to this. It makes it easy to go to the store and just look at all the different flavors and go, man, which ones would be fun? What would we do? And keep my thoughts brewing on how to keep it fun. All right, I'm getting raided. I see James McQuiggin's in the house. Of course, he came in and then he had to run to the bathroom, he said. FedEx is in here. Fred on. Kimberly can fix it. What's up? So it looks like the James McQuiggan thing just got done. I saw most of the interview with Kathy Chambers. Great stuff, man. She is such a treasure and a good friend to both Simply Cyber and CyberCast and just me and personally, like hanging out with her. I love that girl. So I was glad to see that she got on your show. And it was a really fun interview. So thanks, James, for making that happen. Let's see here. Sierra Montgomery says, teamwork makes the dream work. You know it. You know it. Okay, now I'm gonna jump over to the screen. Let's see if we can solve any audio issues that was going on here. I think I know what the problem is. Let me fix it. How about now? Ooh. Is that good? Let me know in the chat. Is that good? Did we fix? I know. Yeah, there's probably like a little. Is it still doing it? I've got this one as well. Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. This is fun. This is fun. How about that? Now, hopefully, so I don't know what I was doing. Oh, you know what it was? I was probably trying to, I think I was messing around with this the other day. I hope that everything is good now. I'm gonna move from there to here, not there, to here. And then maybe, yes, I know there's an echo.
Is your earbud
They are on. We'll turn that off too. Yeah. Maybe it's picking up. It shouldn't be picking up from that. We'll turn my earbuds off. That worked. All right. Yeah, together we can make it happen. My wife jumped in the she was like, check your earbuds. It's like, yes, all the sound things. Yeah, we got it. We got it. Man, see, this is the fun thing about running your own show. There's so many moving parts, and it's like a pond. Once it gets calm and still, if you drop even the smallest grain of sand into that pond, it changes everything and could be causing issues. And you don't realize it. Mrs. Lowry with the assist. She did. She's a gem, isn't she? I love that woman. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for letting me know. And now we can get to work, right? Now we can do the stuff. We can have that fun. Heck yeah. I'm gonna get some more of this because I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I don't even remember doing that. I was working, I did Simply Cyber. I hosted for Jerry on Monday. Jerry's got kind of a complicated setup going on here, and if you want to be able to hear things like my microphone, so his setup, the way I had to do it, I don't have a physical audio interface because I've never needed it. I just got a USB mic. It's plugged in. I attach it and off we go. I need to hear something. I put the headphones in and off we go. Now, the headphones do also have a microphone built into them. So there's that. See, it gets complex and you don't always see the forest for the trees as it does happen from time to time. So, and then of course I wanted to play the browser sounds so I could play the la la la's and all that other stuff, and hear the daily, the CISO series audio as well. So it's like, how do I make this happen? How do I do it? I ended up downloading a software audio interface, a virtual audio interface, and it did a pretty good job. It did a fairly good job. I was very happy with that. And yeah, he does that. And that's why he always says, like, Jerry's jumping in and he says, a complicated setup, Garsh. Well, it's complicated for me, right? Because I'm a keep it simple, stupid kind of guy. I try not to add anything to anything unless it's necessary. Jerry's got a lot of cool stuff. That's how he brings in the soundboard and how he does all that fun stuff. So if you want to try to be a part of that, if you want to do that stuff, you gotta play the game. You gotta add that stuff in. So very fun. But I think, Jerry, you might even mentioned it this morning. It's not a Simply Cybercast unless we have an audio issue. And I believe we had an echo there as well and jaw jacking. So much fun. But now, oh my goodness, we haven't even talked about cyber. We're 13 minutes into this thing. So let's get into today. Let's see. I did have stuff I want to bring up. Actually, we should check in with chat. Let me check in with chat first. I think we've all just been having fun kind of talking and getting through these audio issues this morning. Payne's in the house. Good to see you, the Payne. Let's see here. I think everybody's just kind of like popping in on the audio thing. That was fun. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the pour. And yeah, cool. I think we're good. Wayne, if I'm missing any questions, you repost them for me, but I'm just going to kind of take it from here. And I'll start with, yeah, good. Okay, I'll start with what I've got on the table. What do I want to do? Where's all my stuff? My notes for today. That's not my notes for today. What's up, Tag Grunt? Good to see you, bro. No, also not my notes for today. Where are my notes? There they are. I guess I'm pulling another. Jerry, I'm learning bad habits from you, bro. I've got like 9,000 tabs open right now. It was hard to find the one I was looking for. All right, let's start off with, so there was something Jerry was talking about this morning about patching, right? And how difficult that can be, because it absolutely is a difficult thing to do, or it can be, right? But it's obviously something that we need to do. But that starts to beg the question, like, why is it so often that we hear about organizations getting a breach due to the fact that they had a vulnerability that was not patched, even though a patch was available, right? Doesn't that make you go, that's a good question. If there's a patch available, you would think that the people that work at that, I mean, this sounds just like criminal negligence to me. I feel like they got what they got coming, right? And it's easy to kind of go down that road, but, you know, there are mitigating circumstances from time to time that could make it a little more difficult for people to get patches on. So, came up with a list of the top 5 things I think that kind of keep people from patching, at least immediately. And this is going to range from at the organizational enterprise level to just, you know, Joe and Jane user out there with a system and making it happen. So, 1, a fear of breaking something. This was one of the things that I saw most often when I worked help desk and as a sysadmin. I would have to call people, or if I logged into their machine and they were talking about things running slowly and not working, I would be like, so you see the little notification? Now, this was before that Microsoft was a little more Gestapo-like when it came to applying patches. They're much more forceful about it now. And you kind of got to go out of your way to not get like a Microsoft patch. But it's not just your operating system, right? It's all the apps that you're running, the software, the services, all those things run their own software as well. Hardware devices, they have firmware. Is that getting updated? There's a lot on the landscape there that is not just your operating system, okay? But that's just kind of the easiest thing to pick on, is to go, oh yeah, my operating system. And you go, why isn't that patched? How come you do that? And their number one reason when I ask them, how come you haven't applied that patch yet? How come you haven't hit that update button yet? They would say, well, I don't want it to break anything. Like almost invariably, I don't want it to break anything. It's like, I hear you. And right, Tech Ricky bumped in today, is currently fighting the 24H2 bug with 80 auth, right? Sometimes that does happen. Sometimes patches actually break stuff. And then they go, whoops, my bad. You know, and we got to roll things back. And for an end user, just a regular person out there, they probably don't know how to do that. All they know is thing broken. What do I do now? I've literally seen patches break something so badly that it was like, I got to go and do a system repair and take it back so that, and try to save all their information and do all this. Like, it was not an easy, you know, so it can be not an easy fix. So that was number 1, right? Fear of breaking things. Number 2, lack of resources. You might just have such a vast, complex network that it can be difficult for all that stuff to get, you got to do asset inventory, right? You got to know software bill of materials, right? SBOM. You have to know that stuff. What is everything? If you miss anything, then you could have yourself a vulnerability. It could be exploitable, and you could find yourself at a breach. So sometimes you just don't have enough manpower to get to everything. And then by the time you're starting to catch up, new patches come out, and you're going to start all over again. So totally understand that as well. There are options out there to try to help with that, but it's still quite a difficult thing depending on the size of your organization and all the different technologies that you may be using. So I think that is probably one of the big reasons as well, that you just don't have enough people to make the patching happen. And of course, that leads to the complexity of the IT environment. It's so complex. And some things, just going to throw this out there, some software, they just don't make it easy, do they? They just don't make this a smooth path to getting things done. So it might be a very complex system that needs to be updated. And it might not be something that is going to take a day to do, 2 days to do, a week to do, 2 weeks to do. You might have to be doing a lot of testing to make sure that it works before, right? Because fear of breaking something, because sometimes things do break something. And of course, in a patch environment, as someone who has done patching, you have to have that test bed. You have to have people testing those things and letting you know in each one of your different areas. So if I used to have people from HR, from accounting, from, I worked at an insurance company. So we had agents, we had administrative assistants, you name it, from shipping, billing, you name it. I had test people that they were in my test groups. And when I released patches, it went to test first. And of course, I had test servers that were stood up side by side next to the production servers that were identical instances that looked exactly like them. And I could test them, have my test users use those test servers to see if everything works. And then after probably a week, maybe two of testing, then I would release patches to production. And of course, that was usually critical and security patches got thrown out almost immediately, but I still had a test group for that as well. And you had to schedule. This was not something you could just go, we'll get to it when we get to it. This was an important business thing that would bring us down if we didn't have those patches, at least potentially, if a breach were to occur. So the complexity of the environment can cause a lot of problems, mixing in all those different technologies. All right, user resistance. Yeah, end users can definitely, it's funny. When I said fear of breaking something, those end users definitely had that fear, but we also have fear of it breaking something on the IT side of stuff, on the cybersecurity side of things. We don't want to break things. We want things to work. We also want them to be safe. We also want them to be patched as soon as possible. And then, of course, you might have outdated or no longer supported systems. They tend to find their way into your environment. Well, they probably started off as a fully supported system, but then they became the lifeblood for some rando weird thing that is the linchpin to some crazy process or workflow. And if you take it down, everybody's going home because yeah, that is a critical server. It must stay on. So how do we patch it? How do we update that? Doing something like a side-by-side, trying to slowly migrate from one thing where you stand up another server that can be updated, that is supported, and start to migrate certain things over there, process, procedure, people, and all that, until you as long as you're not seeing any problems with the people that are kind of migrating over, then you're good. And then hopefully eventually you can get yourself off that unsupported system and onto a new supported system. Now, if that's not possible, which does happen, then you got to start looking at things like secondary controls, right? How can I protect this thing because it cannot be updated? I think of things like medical equipment. A lot of those things have like embedded versions of Linux and firmware that do not get patched or updated because they're running like, a pump or something or a monitor, but they're like connected to a network. So I see a lot of companies and organizations, they build controls for those types of environments where, we have a firewall that kind of controls all the ins and outs to this device. Therefore, it will not, or it has a less likely chance to have, issues with security. But you got to be putting in place that, and of course, create a policy that says we must be doing that. We must be making this happen. And if we're not, we got to hold ourselves accountable, right? Policies and procedure. I know it sounds like lame stuff because it's all like, policies and procedures are gonna blah, 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 blah. But honestly, I think the more you get into cybersecurity, probably through the more fun things, hands-on keyboard stuff, the more you start to appreciate people like Jerry Ozier going, okay, yeah, hit me with the GRC stick because that makes sense. I need a policy. I need a procedure. I need regulations. I need frameworks. I need all this stuff because a lot of times it's just like a giant Rube Goldberg machine of different IT components that need security, and we got to put it all together. And that's really hard. Why reinvent the wheel? You kind of lean on that stuff and create a policy that says we must be doing things. And then you create a procedure that says this is how we need to do it. Not that that's one and done. You get to revise that stuff as things change. Revisions must be made. Of course, that gums up the works bureaucratically, but I hope you can find a happy medium. I think that's where it just gets really difficult, is to find that middle ground of being able to get stuff done versus talking about getting stuff done and analyzing, analysis paralysis. So, that's a one size fits one solution for everybody, but there you go. I think that's some of my thoughts on that topic this morning. Let me jump into the chat here. Let's see what's going on. Where was I? I should have copied or highlighted so I can know where we're at. All right. I think I was at Joe Foster. Joe Foster says, this is a retype. I recently had someone give me a voucher for SecOps group for API pen testing training exam. Forgive my ignorance, but what's your take on SecOps group? I don't know that. Let's go check out the SecOps group, shall we? Bing, bring up the old browse. Go SecOps group. Sometimes I know people by logo. Okay, yes, I have seen their logo. Have I done anything with them, or have I looked through their stuff before? So they are CREST accredited, certified, pen testing extras that are, okay, there we go, pen testing exams. Let me click on that. Is it just a drop down, or is it, okay. So you are looking at the API pen testing exam. Let's look for that. Where are you, API pen testing? That looks like it might be it right there. Clicky. Let me get that out of my way. There we go. Okay. Yes, I will accept your wonderful cookies. I'm sure they're delicious. Okay, price doesn't look too bad. API pen testing is a good field to get into. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna probably give you a few challenges. You get to play with a lot of cool tools and see how when people develop their applications that use API calls, how it can get a little fast and loose from time to time of what information they share and what access they give you through the API. So that looks cool. It says it's practical, 4 hours. So that's cool. Do they have training to go along with that? Okay. So I can't say that I'm familiar specifically with that. It says that the equivalent industry certifications are Pentest Plus. Looks like WAHS. I know I got the dark reader on, so sometimes that kind of messes with what we see. But EWPT, OSWA, GWeb, and CREST CRT. So I was saying those are equivalent industry certifications. I am obviously a little more familiar with these right here. Not so much with CREST. I am familiar with CREST, but yeah. EWPT, I do like some INE learn security certs. The ones that I've looked at and the one I've taken was very enjoyable. I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was relevant at the time. Of course, it's been a couple of years now, but I'm currently working on building a Pentest Plus, and there is a section on API, but probably not at this level where it's specifically into focusing in on API, and that would be kind of your niche as a pen tester. So that could be kind of cool. I don't know how much industry recognition this has yet, but again, I feel like, and you guys correct me, you guys tell me what you think on this. I feel like from what I'm seeing in job posts, what I'm seeing in just in general conversation and things like that, it's more about, because there's so many certifications now. We are certification rich. It is Babette's feast out there when it comes to certifications on offensive security, defensive security, and anything in between, right? And it continues to grow just like every day. There's new certs always coming out. And they all seem to be pretty darn good. I mean, a lot of them are taking that hands-on approach, less ABCD, that kind of thing, and more, hey, can you do this and answer questions about it? Can you write a report? Can you do those things? So actual skills that a pen tester would need. So that's good. I love seeing that because they have to stay competitive with each other. And so if I feel like it won't be long, if not already there, that it really doesn't matter per se. Some have better recognition than others, but as long as you are getting a cert, if you find that this cert is going to give you the skills that you need, then when you put that on your resume, if you can always put equivalent to, and you wouldn't be lying, right? They tell you right here, and you could say it's the equivalent to and list all these because that's what they say. This is the equivalency of. And that is kind of what I'm seeing in job posts where they're like, hey, here's some certs we know of, but if you've got one that's equivalent to that, that would work as well. So there you go. Again, don't know so much about this yet, but that looks really cool. Got to check out. I mean, like I said, there's so many now, it's hard to stay on top of all of them. So hopefully that helps. Let's jump back in. Thanks, Wayne's Real World, for getting that to my attention. Appreciate that. I see TJ Williams says, if nothing else, knowledge. Right. Yeah. White Hat Sheepdog talking about patching. He says that there's a Patch Tuesday for a reason. There is no doubt about that. Nothing like coming in and going, oh, my computer rebooted. it must be Patch Tuesday again. Yay. Let's see here. Yeah, he's a White House Sheepdog again. So there should be a cyber t-shirt with a patch theme or saying, seems like it would be a thing. Yeah. That's the t-shirt we could be. My computer rebooted last night. Must be Tuesday. And everybody, only people in the business would get it. Sentinel Grace says, I had a patch break a SQL server. I was told outright, don't patch that server ever again. There's a good point, man. If the people that sign your check say don't do something, even if you know that's probably not the right thing to do, you're kind of obligated to follow their orders because they cut your check. That said, my advice on that in that kind of situation is say, I will do anything you ask me to do. I'm your employee. If you tell me to do something, I will absolutely do it. I would like to make a note in a formal record of my objections to doing this, so that it is stated formally and stored and put out there that I don't think that not patching it is the right avenue of correction for this. Is that, okay, I won't patch it directly, but we need to come up with a patch strategy or a secondary control strategy for security around this specific device because of its sensitivity, and maybe even a migration strategy or a backup strategy so that we can fail over if this does fail, and so on and so forth, right? So work that up. That's always like a really good idea. I've been a part of those conversations. I've heard those conversations, and it's a little bit of a CYA moment, right? Because if it fall, I'm not saying any of your management would ever do this, but if that thing ever fell over or got breached, they would go, why didn't you patch it? And you're like, oh, I'm sorry. And because them coming into your office and telling you don't ever do that again is not enough. You need it in writing. You need to have them say, this is what we've told you to do. You disagree with this, but have agreed to do it anyway. And that is in a formal something. Get an email, get something in writing that you can point to and go, au contraire, mon frère, this is not my faults. Here is what you said to do. And you ignored any of my advice. Always get it in writing. That's why you shouldn't and not in like a Slack message, not in Teams chats, emails, documentation. If you are communicating primarily through Slack messages, Teams messages, screenshot that junk, put it in an offline folder somewhere. You got to have that backup stuff to be able waiting, that proof, those receipts to pull out of the closet whenever you need to. Steve Young says vendor can even supply a software bill. Yeah, SBO, cool. Let's see here. Furious George, regardless of the reasons why patching gets missed, it falls on the leadership of the organization. You would like to think that, and in some cases, you're absolutely right. Like, absolutely right. It's not necessarily the IT team that's going to be pulled in front of a judge if there was some sort of criminal negligence that happened or it affected, kind of like the Equifax breach or something like that. That their team did not go before a judge. It was some C-level that had to answer those questions. So yes, so you advise, and at the end of the day, you do what they tell you to do, right? Let's see here. Moving on. Let's see here. Where am I at? To patch or not to patch? That is the question. That could be. Network can thou be vast and complex. Many thy networks, strong as they may be, but thou can broken by thy patch. Tech Grunt. It's a Tech Grunt original right there. All right. Okay. Let's move on. The cyber poet, Tech Grunt. That's right. David Suey, great course presently on Simply Cyber, cybersecurity for career changers, hosted by Jerry Yoder. Would recommend. Excellent. I'm sure it's phenomenal. Anything Jerry's got, I know he is going to I will just blindly endorse. It's probably a bad strategy, but whatever. I trust Jerry. Let's see here. White Hat Sheepdog says the SecOps group is a test maker, but don't provide any official trainings. They have some great hands-on tests, such as breaking AI, mobile pen testing, etc. Well, man, that just means it's wide open for me to make like an API pen testing course and throw that out on the fire. And then you can use that to study for things like that certification. That could be fun. That'll be fun. White Hat Sheepdog, they usually offer 75% to 90% discount on tests during certain times. And the certs are good for life and provide free retakes for their more advanced certs. Wow, that's really cool. Good information. Thanks for throwing that at us, White Hat Sheepdog. Great information. All right, Brian Weitzman. Building out my home labs, what's your recommendations for C? I'm not sure if that was a question that came from Jawjacking this morning because we had the same question, like what's our favorite SIEM? So because you're building a home lab, which I do as well for demonstration purposes. So if I ever need to build a SIEM, I typically use like Waza or Elastic. I used to use Alien Vault as well. So another option. But you can just get Security Onion, if you like. That could be a useful one because they have Kibana and whatnot. So yeah, good stuff that's out there. Just grab something open source and free. It's mostly about you being able to get familiar with what it's like to work with a SIEM, set things up, deploy agents, get information back, attack the thing, see how it does detection, work the ticket, work the alert, and so on and so forth. So I think that you probably just got any of those options would be fine. You got to kind of figure out what you think is going to be the best. I don't really do a lot of that, so I'm not the best person to ask that stuff. But Elastic seems to be fairly popular. Waza seems to be fairly popular. Does Splunk have a free? Let's go look and see if Splunk, because Wade was saying Splunk's what's up. And he's probably right because that's what he does. Splunk free trial or something, free trials and downloads. Bada bing. Let's see. White Hat Sheepdog says that the SecOps group also offers mock exams for tests. Oh, did we read that already? I might have. The chat will jump on me like you wouldn't believe. All right, here we are. Yes, except everybody in their cookie exceptions. I know it's GDPR and all that other fun stuff, but let's see here. Splunk Cloud Platform. See the power of Splunk Cloud Platform and Splunk hosted cloud environments. Get up to 5 gigabytes of data for 14 days. Well, this is more like I'm an enterprise level, but you still might be able to. Is this get my free trial? Download and install Splunk Enterprise Trial on your own hardware or cloud instance so you can collect, analyze, and act on all of your data, no matter its source. Try indexing, right? It says try indexing up to 500 megabytes a day for 60 days. No credit card required. So there you go. You can hit that get my free trial. Let's view products. So if you want to just go ahead and get hands-on with something like Splunk Enterprise, which is going to be fairly popular in this space, you can get 60 days of a free trial of this thing. You just got to have the hardware to be able to run it, right? And hopefully you do. If that is so, I mean, honestly, that's probably going to be I just didn't even think about Splunk having a free trial. I just know that like those open source never expire, Waza, that kind of stuff. That way you never have to take it down. You could actually build your own SOC out of your home network. And that could be cool. All right, let's see here. So hopefully that helps. Where are we at? LeGrat says, also, how critical is the device to your business mission? If it isn't, patching isn't as important. It might not be important. Okay, let me see it. Maybe I'm off here and I'm just not thinking of something because on the fly, these things can, you can lose perspective. But immediately as an attacker, I go, I'm glad you think that, right? Because if it's connected in any way and it's not patched and I can discover that, even if I've like, maybe like in an assumed breach, if that user that I've been able to breach has access to that device, I can use it to pivot. What else? What other systems are it connected to? And I'm thinking about it that way. Can I easily take over that thing? Do I already have the credentials to make inroads into that, or will I have to try to use a vulnerability to exploit it and gain access to it? And then what is it doing? What can it control? What data does it have on it? Right? So I get it. It's more of like a next level because it's not on the outside. But if you got an assumed breach kind of thing going on, that could be a problem. But again, just thinking out loud. And he says he loves NIST. Of course you do, because NIST is awesome. Sentinel Gray. That's on point because in the future, the auditors come calling. This was early in my career, a decade ago. Oh, you're talking about getting those receipts. Yes, do that. Phil Stafford, you were told that was the incorrect answer. It can be. Merrick, I installed Security Onion on my mini PC. It's great. Yeah, I used to play with Security Onion all the time. And it's like a really easy drop into your environments and go, cool, I now have security on my home network. It's one of the more, you need a little horsepower to run it, but something like a mini PC should have no problem making that thing happen. And then you start connecting things to it, and now you've got yourself a little SOC at the house. All right, where are we at here? White Hat Sheepdog. Speaking of security engine, have you heard of the wireless access point song? It would be great to see a reaction video with you listening to it. We need more cybercomputer type songs. I have not heard of that. That's an interesting thing. Okay, I'll look in. I'll look in. Right, let's keep it fun. That's what we do right here at CyberCast IRL and CyberCast After Dark. We all about that fun, right, kids? All right. Well, this has been fun. You guys are giving me some great things to look at and think about today. Another thing I wanted to bring up is just rando, interesting things that kind of cross my path. You know, I sit around just kind of looking at stuff going, this is a fun thing. We're having a good day. What can I make some content? What would be interesting? And, you know, as I'm kicking through my studio, moving things around or just doing other things, you find stuff you forgot about. So when I moved into this house where I'm at, where my studio is, CyberCast Studios, I happened to notice there was a wireless extender in the upstairs, because I have a 2-story. In the upstairs, this thing was plugged into the wall, and I was like, okay. Well, I unplugged it immediately, of course, because I didn't need it. And I stuck it on a shelf and forgot all about it. And then yesterday I was kind of cleaning some stuff. Oh yeah, look at that. There's a little wireless extender. I wonders if there's anything like hinky about it. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? Are there any known vulnerabilities about this thing? What could I possibly just get myself into? So I thought I would save that for today, and we could do a little research. Now, to get the model number off this thing, I had to actually take a picture because it is tiny. So I'm going to grab this model number because I don't remember what it is. Let me go there. Let's see here. Where's my pictures? There they are. Pictures. Aha. Okay, so this model number is a Netgear AC750 Wi-Fi range extender. Let me throw that over there so I can see it. And let's just go looking and see what we can find. Let's do some analysis of this thing. So we're looking for a Netgear AC750 Wi-Fi range extender. Right? And this is, that does look like it right there. The model number is EX3700. Let's just do EX3700 just to narrow things down. All right, we're getting Netgear right here. First shot, excellent. Let's click on that. This is our device. And we can start playing with this. And there's a couple ways we could go with this thing because, it most likely has some sort of configuration interface or something so that you can connect it to your wireless. But this could be interesting. Let's look in the product data sheet. Let's do this. Open link a new tab. Data sheets. So we've got dual band Wi-Fi, supports 802.11ac, BG and N Wi-Fi devices, external antennas, convenient wall plug design. I also noticed that it has an RJ45 port on there. I would assume that is so that you can connect to it and configure the thing. We've got 2 Wi-Fi modes, Ethernet port, right. Connect a wired device like a game console or smart TV to your Wi-Fi network. Okay, gotcha. Obviously, this is a little bit of an older thing because most of your games and TVs have built-in Wi-Fi at this point. But still interesting. There's some of the more detailed pictures of it. Ease of use, support, security, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's just the data sheet on it. Technical specifications, installation guide, user manual. Those are probably going to be useful pieces of information for us. Technical specs, requirements, support, and warranty. Let's go there. Support and warranty. Do we have to hit the support page? Usually when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's on the page. Just a couple of reviews. Like, what if, where like the downloads and stuff for this thing? Because I want to see, right? Does it need a firmware update? I can only assume so. You know what we can do? Let's go do this. Netgear EX3700 vulnerability. A vulnerability was found for the EX3700 up to 1.0.0.88. It has been classified as critical. Affected is the function sub 41619C of the file MTD. Right? MTD. What's that going to be? Anyway, we'll take a look. We can click on the NIST details on that CVE. See what they got going on there. Any more information? Vulnerability found there. The manipulation leads to a stack-based buffer overflow. It's possible to launch the attack remotely. The exploit has been disclosed to the public and may be used. Upgrade to versions 1.0.0.98 is able to address this issue. It is recommended to upgrade the affected component. This vulnerability only affects products that are no longer supported by the maintainer. Well, that's good. So this is no longer supported thing. So they're telling you need to update. References, advisories, and tools. Here's a GitHub page. Let's go there. See what we got going on with this thing. Here is the firmware. Oh, cool. So this is the firmware. Okay. Let's download that. I'll open that new tab. Grab that. Download. Is it already done? I think it did. All right. Let's go here. What was that? What was the name of that file? It was EX3700. That's going to make it easy. Let's jump. Let's do this. Let's copy from downloads EX3700. Oh, actually, I need to make a folder. Make dir. We'll call this EX3700. CD into EX3700. Copy from /downloads. EX3700 bin right to here. Unzip. That's. And now we've got this check. Okay. I don't know if this will work. Do I have binwalk installed? --help. Yep, cool. So if I'm not mistaken, we just do a binwalk. If I haven't done this in a hot minute, so binwalk -me of, there we go, 58.chk. Looks like we got a little bit of action. Oh, one or more files failed to extract. Either no utility was found or it's unimplemented. Let's just see what we did get an extraction folder. So let's go in there, underscore EX3700 extracted. And now we can go into squash fs And now we can start looking at the file system of this thing. Now, it said back here, or was it at the NVD that this was where it affected MTD? The file /MTD. So let's see if we can find this file. ls-al. Do I see a .mtd? And maybe sometimes with these types of things, they are when you have like an IoT device, you have hardware and stuff like that, the versions of Linux that they run won't create files until the system boots up. So it might not actually be here. We can see that it is running BusyBox right there. And we see that a lot. So we can still kind of kick around in here. You never know. This is usually a good place to go, right? www. See if there's anything else you can find in there. Of course, an Etsy. So we could go to CD Etsy. And it just has an fstab. ls-al, nothing. Yeah, it just has an fstab. But like I said, sometimes they're routed to like temp directories and things of that nature that doesn't exist until you actually boot the thing up. Let's see here. Let's go. It has a home directory. Home. Nothing there. Okay. Let's go to www. Okay, we got some files up in there. We got some files. And this is kind of the cool thing about like kicking around with this stuff. This is where we're starting to do some security research, right? You could go through these files because look, HTML, we have JavaScript files. We've got HTML files, right? Nothing too crazy, a couple of JavaScript files. I would almost assume that we have, is it all just done in JavaScript and HTML? Sure looks like it. But that's awesome, right? You can kick around in here, see how things work, see if you could find a new exploit for these things. Does it have any inputs? If so, how does that pass? How does that work? Is it making system calls at all? You can kind of look through these things and maybe find a new vulnerability just by dumping the firmware. Let's go to, so that one's fun. Let's go back and do an ls. Where's another good one? var and user opt could be good, maybe in mount media inits, right? So let's go to, oh, what's this Etsy row? Oh, what are the binaries that are on this device? So cd bin, cd sbin, go to sbin as well. You can find those things. So let's go to cd bin. Here are the different binaries that are installed on this machine. So if I were to get something like RCE, I would be able to utilize any of these tools. They might not be fully functional because it's a BusyBox kind of thing, but could be fun. I need to know where are we at with time? Okay, 10:52. We still have a little bit of time left. You know what else I want to do? Well, this is kind of cool. We can kick around with this, but we can also do, let's go look for like the hardware side of stuff, right? So let's do an FCC ID search, SEARCH for Netgear. What was this? The EX3700. Cool. OpenWRT. There we go. Federal Communication Government. Is this going to give me, or they want the actual FCC ID, right? Yeah. So if you've never done these things before, they're kind of fun. So you put the grantee code or the first 3 to 5 characters of the FCC ID, then you put the remaining characters in here and you can do a search. I'm so glad I took a, I'm not kidding, kids. This is the tiniest of, it's so tiny even that I think that's a P, even when and I've got a really nice camera on this phone. Let's see here. PY3144. Okay. This is going to be fun. We'll try this first. So PY3. And then we'll put the rest in here, which is 144.002.98. Let's see if that works. I'm going to copy this because I don't want to type that again. Copy. Search. Okay, we did get 7 results. And what I can do with this is one of the things I like to do, just for funsies, is, yep, Netgear Incorporated. I think we got the right thing here. We've got a detailed summary. What I'm looking for is almost always, let me just go here. We'll click the first one. Okay, go there. It's fine. almost always they have to take photos of the internals of the system, right? Internal photos right there. Bing. And there's what it looks like. So now I don't even have to crack the thing open to see what's going on the board. I don't have to waste my time with that necessarily. And hopefully we're looking at that. Bring my, no, I am blind as a bat anymore, kids. I'm so crazy. I'm looking for any kind of like test connection. Like maybe that's got this weird Molex right there. That doesn't look like, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. The circuit board. Do I see anything that might be like a UART or a JTAG? Chips and things of that nature. This seems to be, I mean, it's got to have that stuff because it's running some Linux on there. There's a nice close-up of this thing on the inside. There's your chip right there. So I could get a SPI, an SPI, and probably extract the firmware off of that way, but we have access to the firmware. But if I want it running, this is an interesting thing. This is not something I'm super familiar with right there, so I'd have to look that up. But man, they did do some great job at details on this stuff. So this could be a fun little project on the side. Yeah, there you go. Just a little fun. Like I say, I like to keep this thing security, right? Weird security. I'm doing a little fun with you guys today. You never know what you'll find laying around the house. So my challenge to you this week, go find one of your things that you don't use anymore. Go to a rummage sale, go to a garage sale, hit the local Goodwill, find a little piece of something or other, and go, let's do some security on that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Chuck Ricky says, this, my friends, is ADHD hyperfocus live and in person. Yep, that's kind of where it goes, right? That is how that... Merrick says, that looks like a 4-pin connector. Yes, it does look like a 4-pin connector. I just don't know what it's a 4-pin connector for, so I'll have to do some research. Good news is that's probably in the tech sheets. That's in that FCC information that we looked at before. So I could find a lot of stuff there. At the very least, I could, look through the files that we saw when I extracted all the files using Binwalk and look for any useful information there that could lead to, and I could learn more about that. They did say that there was public exploit, but did we see that? Let's go back really quick. I know we only got about 3 minutes left. Vulnerability details. Here's the buffer overflow stuff. So that'll be fun to sift through. Vulnerability analysis. Oh, this is great. Let me drop this in chat. Copy that. Paste that monkey right there. So if you guys want to go look at that, that's just interesting. I know you guys probably don't have one. And then there's the POC. Okay, great. Awesome. It has a Python script for this. Okay. So you know what I'm thinking about doing? That might be a fun, pre-recorded, recorded asset for YouTube where we kind of do what we just did, but more formally and try all this. Oh, that's so cool. This could be super fun. All right. Well, that is a great end to this show, kiddos. That is something I am excited about, to go out there and mess around with this and see if I can't make my own stuff and mess with this. Yay. Raul Rice says, how to get MTV file in runtime? Probably. It's probably in runtime. It could be somewhere else. I just didn't see it. I mean, this was obviously very fast for us to go through. Let me check in with chat one more time before we call it a day and see what you guys are saying. Where was I at last? Okay. Yeah. We are here. Legret says, totally agreed. I'm assuming the evaluation, you're talking about whether or not it's pertinent to patch a specific thing, if it's, if it's older or whatever the case is, in the context of which we were speaking about before. I'm assuming the evaluation of how critical an item is for patching took into account its interfaces and systems it can impact. There should be a system architecture. I hear you, and I would agree with you on there. It's that word you used, assuming. This is how a lot of people make their money, is on other people's assumptions, right? Whether that money come by way of helping them or hurting them. When we start, we can really, like, I've learned a lot about the power of assumption in the last few years. That's a dirty word, honestly. I used to make the joke, you know what happens when you assume? You're right 100% of the time. That's not true. That's a facetious false statement right there. Riosec says, I think TCM Security has an API pen testing course. Their stuff is always worth checking out. Absolutely. They have great stuff. Love the TCM crew. Anything else? Phil Stafford says, he said hinky. Hinky is what he said with an H. Right? Lots of fun. All right, let's see here. Anything else that we got that we need to get at? Looks like a 4-pin straight fax, Sierra Montgomery. All right. Looks like we are at the top of the hour. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Don't forget, if you want to hang out with us on Discord, so not when CyberCast is live, either today, Fridays at 10 or at Wednesdays at 9 p.m., you can check us out on Discord. Link is in the description. Go ahead, jump on that. Hang out with us there. We'd love to see you in that and have a good conversation. It's always a good time had by all. It looks like we are at the end of today's show, but thank you so much again for joining me. And until next time, keep hacking.